two favorite gals who love talking cash. They teach you about dollars while making you laugh. When it comes to money, don't be slackers. Listen to Galia and Susan, Susan and Galia. Galia and Susan, they're the Fiscal Firecrackers. Yeah. Take it, ladies.
Hey, everybody, I'm Susan Yeagley.
And I'm Galia Gishon.
And we are the Fiscal Firecrackers. And this is the show where we have a complete blast while learning to make our money last. We will educate, entertain, and empower you with your money.
And today, I'm so excited to sit down here with Susan and talk about love and money.
Oh, boy, that is loaded. Holy
I know, I'm
cow.
sweating. I'm sweating.
Oh, both of those words are so heated.
Do they go together? I think so. I think they do go together. Well, let's face it. Love is here and money is here. So how do the two meet in the middle? And I have to say, when we sat down and started talking about this, like we had so many crazy stories. That was like the first part. We're like,
bananas.
Let me tell you about this story. Let me tell you about this story. So Susan, you had some crazy ones.
Crazy story.
Oh
I mean,
God.
you know, they always say, how does somebody present themselves on a date? Because that tells you a lot in terms of how they're going to be as a partner. And I remember going on this date in Los Angeles with this guy. First of all, he shows up in aquamarine colored shorts and he's sweating as if he had been training for the Boston Marathon. And as an afterthought, stopped by to pick me up on a date.
Oh
so
God.
we get in his car and I was so hopeful back then. I was so polite. And we sit in his car and I could see his white flesh, the sweaty white flesh rubbing against his car seat. And he was psyched. He goes, hey, guess what? I got an LA coupon book and we're going to go to all these places in the coupon book. My uncle gave it to me.
He didn't even pay for it. Wait, he didn't even pay for it? He got it for free?
He didn't even have a coupon for the coupon book. He got it for free. So he takes out the coupon book and he goes, look, Black Angus, buy one 16-ounce sirloin steak, get one free. Rip. And I just remember the sound of it ripping and his eyes just lit up. I mean, if this was a cartoon, hearts were flying out of his eyes, right? So we go to Black Angus. We have our steak, buy one, get one free. He gives him the coupon. The next thing he goes, oh, do you like ice cream? I go, all right, sweaty. Yeah, I do like ice cream, sweaty. And he goes, look, I got a coupon. Buy a banana split, get a banana split free. Rip. Off we go to Baskin-Robbins and have a banana split. Then we're driving to the valley. I say, where are we going to the valley? We're crossing over Coldwater Canyon. He says, I got putt-putt golf. Get 9 holes, get 9 free. And also they'll throw in a go-kart thing after. I said, oh my God, rip. Off we are. And so the entire date was this LA coupon book.
Buy one, get one free.
Buy one, get one free. And the end of the night, he leans in for a kiss. And I was like, do you have a coupon for that?
Okay.
Because I'm not giving away for free.
You're like, this isn't buy one, get one free kiss for free.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to wear two hats here. So as your financial planner, advisor, financial friend, I have to admit, I give him credit. Maybe the guy just didn't have a lot of money and he wanted to impress you. And he thought, you know what? This is a way that I can take her to some really nice establishments and not spend a lot. So on that hand.
Okay, I hear you. But first of all, I think I have no problem with someone not having money or being on a limited budget, but that needed to come high up in the date. If he had just said, look, I am a struggling musician or I'm a struggling actor right now, and I'm spending all my money on acting classes. And I have this coupon book. If there was honesty and transparency, my heart would have just been so open to that. But because he was like, I'm beating the system. I got this deal. Ugh.
No. So like I said, the practical side of me was like, you know what? Like, I get it. He's trying to save money. But let me just start by saying that when we talk about love and money, it's usually not about the money. It's about, and I'm not a therapist, nor do I play one on TV. So I'm definitely not going to like therapize this. But I do know that I've worked with a lot of couples on love and money. And the first thing is you have to talk about it. And you bring up a good point, Susan, is that it's never too early to talk about money. So I don't care if this is your first date. If he had said to you, you know what, Susan, I'm an actor. I've got a limited budget. This is kind of embarrassing. I think you would have looked at him differently. Number one.
Absolutely.
Because all of our stories, our history with money is absolutely unique. And it's really important to understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And the other thing about love and money that I thought about when you told me the story is that we do have two different ways of looking at it. And you might just say, you know what, I don't go out for dinner that often, that when I do, I want to go to a really nice place and I don't want to have to, use a coupon or have the early bird special. And that's something that's for me is really important, is that I don't eat out a lot because I'm working, I've got my kids. So when I do eat out, I actually want to go to a nice place and not have to worry about it. And the rest of the time I'll eat my Trader Joe's meals. So just the fact that you are communicating about money and what is important to you. And obviously that didn't happen. And yeah, it's going to be really hard to talk about it on the first date. But as we saw here, it's not too early to talk about it. And the other thing is, which I'm just going to say, is that you could have said, you know what, I like this guy or he likes me. I'm going to split it with him. We're going to split the check. I'd rather go to a nicer place and I'll just pay my way. I don't need him to pay it.
That's true.
But just a little bit of communication. But it's such a funny story that here he's bringing these coupons. And let's face it, you probably didn't like him anyway, so maybe the coupon just was like the frosting on the cupcake, right?
Yeah, it was the sweaty, pasty thighs that showed up in the short shorts. And I thought, holy moly, can you not get a shower? But, it's not, obviously, it's not about how much money someone has. It's about being honest about what you have and standing in that power. Because when someone speaks their truth, that's very attractive to me. I remember being in my 20s and a guy said to me, look, I'm between apartments right now. I go, oh, what does that mean? He goes, I'm living in a van, and this van that was parked off of Melrose. He goes, but I'd like to take you to lunch. So we went to Quiznos because he said they toast the bread there. He really liked that they toasted the bread. So we got some sandwiches and we went and sat in his van off of Melrose. And he was not my future husband, but he was interesting. And I didn't hold it against him that he lived in his van because he was honest about it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So today, because this was probably not yesterday this happened, considering you've been married for a little bit, is that today there's so many great apps out there for money. And I just want to share some of that. So that can be a great way, say you are a couple that is just starting out, but you are a couple and you still have your money separate, but maybe you want to start doing something together. You can actually track your spending together. And there's so many great apps that do that. So for example, Monarch app, Honeydew, like honey, and then DUE, like the play on the fruit. That's really cute. Honeyfi, Zeta Money Manager. So a lot of these apps are specifically designed for couples, or they're an app that has a partner feature. And I think they are fantastic. It's almost like when you want to do something, let somebody who is independent and intermediary help you with it. So track your spending together. Even if you're only going on an early on date and you've just started dating. I actually just had lunch with a friend and her kids are a little bit older. And she said that they're actually, her daughter's moving in with her boyfriend and they're talking about money and they're keeping it separate. And it's funny, she's asking me about this literally at lunch before we're recording this podcast. I was like, oh, I've got some great tips on love and money for you. And I told her about the app. So tracking your spending together and using an app can really make it easy. So in the case of this date with the guy with the van, maybe you could have put on the app and say, oh, should we put Quiznos on the app? But
you have to know that you're probably going to do more than dry hump a guy to share an app with him, right? You have to have a little bit of a relationship to get the app.
You know what? I would say yes and no. I mean, yes, you're not necessarily, if anything, you're not merging bank accounts. You're just kind of seeing the numbers in black and white and really seeing them together. So maybe you can say, let's put this dinner together on the app and then you can Venmo me afterwards.
Right. Do you think it's a good idea? I know a lot of couples that do this is if there's a purchase at a certain dollar amount that you let the other person know, or you kind of run it by them and say, hey, I have my eye on something and it's X amount. What are your thoughts? Do you think that you should have as a couple a number that is the phone call number?
It's funny because I have heard so many different ways to do it. So there's a purchases below $100. We can have personal discretion. If it's below $500, $1,000. I mean, obviously it goes the spectrum of how much money you've got. What gets me a little nervous about that is that it feels like you're hiding. It feels like you want to spend on something that you don't want the other person to know about. Mm-hmm. So yes, I think I would not want to be in a relationship, and I wouldn't suggest couples be in a relationship where you have to ask the other person's permission for everything. But I also think judging each other's purchases aren't healthy either. So I still think talking about money and really sharing. And what I find is a lot harder is when you have couples who are talking about it and they really want to do two different things. So I think about this one couple I worked with. He loved to fish, and they didn't have a lot of money at all. But if he had an extra $50, he would spend it on a fishing rod. He would spend it on I don't even know fishing equipment, but I'm telling you, if he had an extra $25, he'd go to the fishing store. And she's like, okay, I didn't say anything after the 10th fishing rod, but now I'm done. And she just wanted to travel. And she actually wanted to travel to a city. They lived in a suburb. And so for her, going to New York City or Chicago or Boston was just like the dream. And she's like, an extra $50, like I would rather put that towards our vacation. So that to me is like the bigger question is, how do we communicate and compromise when we have really different money values?
That is a great question. I think too, it's staying open that your partner's tastes are going to be completely different than yours. So for example, I'd be fine eating home every night of the week, but I may want to buy a stick pin that has a ladybug on it. Okay.
Right. And how would you feel if you had to ask your husband, well, can I buy this stick pin with a ladybug pin on it? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
That's why I think saying, well, if we don't spend above a certain amount, we don't have to ask. I still think you're taking the element of trust out of that, which actually leads to bigger issues with love and money. So that's my 2 cents on it.
That is great. Okay. So, but I love the idea of the tracker system too. That's really interesting.
Technology is there. And look, I say don't fight it, use it. And I find that the more that we get money into our life on a regular basis. And so this is another tip that has been really, really helpful for me. And this is obviously for couples who are a little more well established. So maybe you are, and by the way, it doesn't mean that you're living together. Maybe you're just dating, but you've been dating for a while, is have a money date. I've been following this woman who's a financial therapist for a long time. Her name is Barry Tessler. She's excellent. And so she actually gave this idea for a money date. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And so the idea is if you guys drink, have a glass of wine, have a beer.
But don't bring a coupon book. Don't bring a coupon book.
Do not bring a coupon book to the money date. Or if you don't drink, have a cup of tea, have a seltzer. Do not do it with the TV on or Netflix in the background. If you have children, do not do them when kids are around. I even say go out of the house. And so one of the things that Barry did is she would say, actually do a body check. So are you really tense? Or, do you have a headache? Does your neck have a kink in it? So kind of relax. And then really without making a decision, discuss what you want to do with your money and come up with one mutual shared goal. Maybe we're never going to agree on the fishing lines versus going to the city. But is there one goal that we can agree on money-wise that's important to us? So focus on the positive and not the negative.
That's a great tip. And then my question too, circling back, is when is there one too many fishing poles? When is it a hoarding problem? When is it a shopping problem? Right?
Right. I found that with money, it's about moderation. So I would kind of look at the very big picture and the bottom line. And I would say, are you on track with your other goals? So if you have your goals together, such as maybe you're just want to create an emergency savings account, or maybe you want to save for a home and for a down payment, or maybe you are really focusing on your retirement and you want to put them on. Are you filling those buckets? And are you doing them together and talking about them? And if you are, then I don't really care if you're buying, 50 fishing rods.
Right.
Or you've got a hoarding problem. Because if you're really meeting your other goals and buying 50 fishing rods is important to you, then great, do that. But if it's taking away from something that is really important, then yeah, you do have a problem. Or we need to come up with a compromise.
I think this is so important for people to talk about while they're dating before they get married. I mean, there are things that come up in a marriage that they're zingers that you're just never gonna be prepared for. I mean, what is our relationship going to be to our parents and supporting parents that need it? What about siblings, right? What about private school? Do we want to send our kids to private school or public school? Do we want to send them to, it just goes on and on.
And it's a great way to start talking about it without having to say, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because let's face it, if you're 25 years old, you don't really know if you want to send your kids to private school. You probably are like, I can never afford it. So why would I even talk about that? That definitely comes up. So I like to say, let's start by asking questions about your childhood and money and just share yours. Did you pay for college? Did you go to a public university? Did you even go to college? Freelancers, are you ready to stop wasting fees on your business account? Let me tell you about Lily. It's a new way of banking for freelancers and single business owners. Separate your personal and business expenses with just a swipe. Left for personal, right for business. You'll optimize your taxes, save money, and reduce financial stress. In just 3 minutes, you can join the more than 500,000 freelancers who've already opened a Lily account. No minimum balance, no hidden fees, no impact on your credit score. Sole proprietors and single member LLCs are eligible. Finally, take control of your taxes and spend that newfound time making more money. Sign up today for a special Lily offer on our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com.
Okay, so if you and I, let's say, Galia, you and I are on a first date and you and I are at the Red Lobster and we're cracking into some Cajun shrimp.
Is it early bird?
It's early bird, 4:00, so that makes you happy.
Yes.
And we're sitting there. Do you think the first date, is it okay to say something just to kind of pepper that into the cake mix, just to say, hey, what was your childhood like in regards to money?
Absolutely. Okay. First of all, I think money is a positive conversation. It's not, I even tell my clients, I'm teaching right now a college class, and I say to my students, I'm like, go talk about money with your friends. And they look at me, they're like, what? And I'm like, money is positive, and we need to get it as part of our regular conversations, not in a complaining, bitching and moaning sort of way, but in a really sharing where we are and that we want to grow.
Yeah.
And especially women. Women are conditioned to not talk about money. It's bad. Like, don't ever talk about how much you're making, how much you're earning. Don't ever talk about how much things cost, unless it's a piece of clothing, right? But other than that, and by the way, has this ever happened that someone says, oh, I love your pants. You're like, thanks, I got them on sale, right? Like, we're like, right? Yes. Like, we don't even want to like admit that maybe we did spend full price or that we deserve it. So if you're on a first date, anyway, I digress there. But if you're on the first date, you want to get to know this person. And isn't learning about their money history just another way to get to know them? So there's nothing wrong with saying, maybe you're not going to say like, oh, did your childhood feel financially secure? Like, that's probably a little bit too much. But, you can say, oh, did you go on a lot of vacations when you were a kid? And like, I know that, one of the couples I worked with, they were saying that the camping trips were their most fun vacations. And that can be a great way to go on vacation without spending a lot of money. Yeah. Or if you're like, no, I don't like camping, or I like glamping, or would you rather go on vacation or buy things? And it's not that one is, worse than the other.
That's a great question, because it doesn't look like you're prying too much. Right. To say, would you rather buy things or go on vacation?
Right. And, I love this as what is your first money memory? And I've had a few students say, like, back when they have the stock tables in the newspapers, which they don't anymore, is that they remember sitting there with their grandfather. And this was a girl. She grew up in Chicago, and her grandfather would literally like show her the stock tables and the stocks that they owned. To me, that is like, I wish every grandfather or grandparent would do that with a child, because talk about, especially girls, teaching them about money and teaching them what a stock is at a very early age. And I remember her sharing that with me in one of our workshops. Why not share that on a first date? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
But again, it's like understanding where you're coming from actually like can be just like huge with money.
Right.
And I would say that if you have kids, talking about money with your partner is probably the best example for your kids. And again, it doesn't have to be a scarcity thing. Like, even if you guys are a family who does live on a budget and, maybe money is tight, like sharing the positives and negatives of money with your partner, not fighting about it, but even saying, hey, honey, tonight, are we going to talk about this?
I love that you talk about the would you rather. I love the rather. Would you rather have this or would you rather have that? And so you're saying put the kids into the umbrella of that and just say, okay, guys, spring break is going to be coming up. So do we want to stay here? Do we want to go somewhere? This is our budget. So include the kids and all that.
Right. Like, do we need a new TV, which maybe like, we really need one, or do we go camping, or do we go to a theme park or something that, why don't you help us make that decision, or what's important to you? And by the way, like, something else about love and money is like the way you spend money can really illuminate what your values are. So if you, I know I keep going back to your coupon guy date, but
I can get you his phone number.
Wow,
I'm sure he's around.
Those teal shorts, were they dolphin shorts? Do you remember those dolphin shorts? I did have those.
Well, if you had the same shorts as you guys were meant to meet someday.
I don't know. This was like in the 70s. So, but it was material items more important to your quality time. And of course, like, the very like the person that we think we're holier than thou is like, no, quality time is more important. But you're like, maybe it isn't. Maybe I just want like some new lawn furniture, or I don't know, something like new in my house that I haven't been able to to afford or haven't been able to spend the money on. So what is important to you from a value wise? But maybe you want new lawn furniture because we are home more and we're not going out. So we want to have a nicer area to sit in the backyard.
Right. And if you love your home and you love your patio, you're not going to go and spend out in hotels and air flights, right?
Right. So this like leads to, I feel like communication, right, is like part of like every...
It's everything. It's the cornerstone.
I know.
It's the background music in the room. Talk about money. Talk about it all.
So Susan, I have a question for you. Something that came up when I was looking at the tips is that, and I'm dealing with this with some couples. And again, it doesn't really matter how much you make, but I'm seeing couples that, and again, I'm seeing this with couples who are on super tight budgets and couples who have a lot, because I really work with so many different kinds, is that what do you do with one person makes more than the other? And that can really put a lot. So I'm going to give you my financial, but I'm just curious, like if you have an idea from that or a story or just something.
Yeah, I do.
That's something.
Well, my husband makes a lot more than I do. And I remember 19 years ago, we were just still dating at the time. And we went out with a group of friends and the bill came and Kevin bought dinner for probably 9-10 people. And everybody thanked him. They said, "Oh, Kevin, thank you for dinner. Thank you." And he looked at me and he kind of put his hand on mine. He said, "Susan and I are happy to do it. It's our pleasure. Susan and I are so happy to do it. We're so glad to have dinner with you guys tonight." He immediately included me into the fold.
Oh my God. Were you boiling?
I could feel my uterus quaking. I was so happy about that because so many times I'll see that where someone will go to someone's house and they'll say, "Oh, Doug, your house is so beautiful." They completely leave out Steve. Doug and Steve are a couple, or, they'll take the person who earns the most and immediately thank that person. And I think when you're in a partnership, you should thank both people. Right. That's my opinion.
So I would say that, sometimes you just have one partner who's earning less than the other for many reasons. Maybe they're just in a lower paying field, or they're working for a nonprofit, or they are working part-time to help take care of their children. There's so many reasons why one person makes less than the other. So what I would suggest, and it's not that person is making less or contributing less. It's just that just if you look at dollars and dollars, one person might be making less. What I see that happens, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but what I see that happens is that the person who is making less tends to start taking more of a backseat.
Yes.
They just become less involved. More and more, they become less and less involved. So here's where I am telling you, if you are in that relationship and that is you, and again, it's not for any reason. Again, there's so many reasons why we're making less, where nothing is equal all the time. But I would say start getting into the driver's seat in other ways. Get more involved with the investing. And if you don't have any investments, then take an investing class and learn about investing. If you do have financial people in your life, take a financial planning class, take an investing class, take a handle on the budget, reading an investing book together. So become more of an involved person in your money life, in your family partnership, in your personal partnership. And so while what you're earning isn't going to be as relevant, you will be more and more in the driver's seat, and you'll be more and more of an equal partner in that relationship. And I think you'll feel better about yourself too.
Absolutely. And that's what I have done is I pay all the bills. I do the check. I go online. I call the places. Meet with the business manager. I know about the investing. I know where every penny goes. I've taken that on. And it's one of the reasons I love doing this money podcast because I've self-taught. But I think, it is important if you're not making as much as your partner to have a very active role. If anything, it makes you feel fantastic.
I know. And I would say that if you have anyone in your life that is helping you, even if it's like somebody at the local bank that you've talked to, go see that person alone. If you have a financial planner who's just going to do like an intro meeting, go see that person alone. Yes, tell your partner, spouse, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, that you are going to see that person. Like, you're not hiding, but go have that discussion alone and then bring it back to your partnership and talk about it on your money date. So it's just a way, and you might be scared. You're going to be scared. That's okay. And you might ask questions like, I still get this all the time. Galia, I have a dumb question. I'm like, there's no dumb question. The dumb question is the one you're not asking. So really go out there and ask the questions, say, I'm going to do this track our spending app together. Maybe you're doing all the bill paying in your case, Susan, but maybe this person isn't. Take over the bill paying. Look at your savings account. Look at your investments. And if you don't have any, open an account. And we're going to talk in another podcast about how to go start investing with no money down.
Ooh, I love that.
I know, because it's really for everybody. But it is hard. Talking about money is really hard.
Wow, Galia, that was amazing. I have absorbed so much today. I am percolating over with money tips. Thank you. Could you please give us a quick wrap up?
open your ears, and a money market account. It's time for Galia's Dollars and Cents.
First, talk about your money and communicate. It's never too early. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. The second, track your spending together with an app. We've given you so many. They're listed on our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com. Third, keep your purchases out in the open. Trust is so important. The fourth, have a money date with your partner. Make it fun over a glass of wine, a cup of tea, chocolate. You don't have to solve all your problems, but at least talk about what you want to do with your money. And remember, it's never too early to talk about money. Share your money stories. You can definitely have this on a first date. You don't have to tell everything, but at least share something that gives an insight to who you are and what they are too.
So I won't order caviar on the first date, right?
Well, unless you're willing to pay for it, why not?
I'd pay for it.
Yeah.
I'd pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for wrapping that up, Galia. Let's go right into a letter.
Want more pecuniary pleasure? Let's read a letter.
This letter is from Mary in Memphis. So, Galia, I will read it, and this is directed to you.
Okay.
My husband and I have very similar money goals. However, we are fighting about one big issue that keeps coming up. He is French and doesn't want to save for college in the United States because he feels our children can always go to college overseas, which can be free or much cheaper. I disagree because I want them to have the option to study here. They don't even speak French. We don't have a lot of wiggle room in our budget for college savings, but I still want to be prepared. Please help us figure this out and stop the college collisions. Oh my goodness. Can I tell you what I think the answer is?
Yes,
And see if
yes.
You can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yes, please.
Please save for college in America as well. I think it's always a good idea to save for college. That's my 2 cents.
Yes,
Galia, you're the
absolutely.
pro.
Absolutely. So there's a few things that you can do there. Again, like understand what is your husband's fear, like number one. And I'll give you the money tip, but I would just start by saying, like, why doesn't he want to stay? Is it just like he doesn't trust him? It could just be that he doesn't want to spend the money. But I will say that with college savings, and look, maybe there's just, you don't have a lot of money. And so saving that extra $100 a month, he's like, no, we really need it. But I will say that you can save for college inexpensively. And especially most states have a state plan where you save towards a state's university. And you're paying, like 20 or 30% of what you normally would have paid. So you could compromise and say, let's pay for a public university, or let's at least pay for like 1 year of college and then they take out student loans, but we give them a leg up. But at least we're doing something. And so no, you're not going to be able to pay for 4 years and maybe you can't afford that and that's okay. But at least you as a parent feels like I'm doing something. The other thing about college savings that if you choose to put it into a 529 and the child does decide to go to college in Europe, you can use that money for other things.
Beer.
Exactly.
Here's $200,000 for Heineken.
That's more than just a block party, right?
I did not know that about the 529s, that you can empty it out and go to France or go wherever and use it for whatever you want.
Well, I say that with huge caveats. So
Okay.
there are some tax consequences and there are some early penalties. But the point is, it's not like you put it into an account and you can never see it again. So, and I'll just quickly give you this tip on 529, that if you have more than one child and one child doesn't use the 529 money, you can actually use it for the other child with no penalties or anything. That's number one. If you have a child who's going to go to grad school, you can use that money for grad school. That's number two. If you have a parent, say you didn't go to college or you want to go back to grad school, you can use 529 money for the parent. No penalty. And by the way, this includes cooking school, art school. This is any accredited university. So let's just say you've gone through all those, like you have more than one child, you have grad school, you have parent, and you still have money left over, even if it's $10,000. Then you take it out and you pay a 10% penalty.
Okay. Not too bad.
And taxes, and the taxes that you would owe on capital gains, obviously.
So if my son doesn't use his 529, I can go to school and finally become a brain surgeon.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
As long as it's an accredited college. but most colleges are. It is. That's the only caveat. It has to be accredited.
Okay.
But again, art school, I mean, there's even like a racetrack driving school that's accredited, believe it or
Oh,
not.
I'm going there.
Yeah. No matter where you are, whether you are on like your maybe not your first date, but even if you're on a third or fourth date, or maybe you're like this old married couple, is come up with a new money goal together. Like do something new and fresh and say, you know what, let's, save for, a night at a special hotel, and that might take you months to save for that. Or let's save for a trip together, or let's save for a new piece of furniture, or let's save for a present for each other. And again, the dollar amount doesn't matter. It's just doing a shared money goal and putting a dollar sign on it can really bring a couple together closer. That's my last money tip.
I got to think of my money goal now. I'm so excited.
I know. I've got mine too.
Okay. We'll share them in the next episode.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Go to our website, fiscalfirecrackers.com. Subscribe, rate, and review. And please tell 3 friends. Have fun on your money dates. And remember, don't bring a coupon book.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, The Fiscal Firecrackers. While this podcast contains information about finances and investments, financial results discussed herein are not necessarily typical and are not a guarantee of future success. The creators of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. The podcast should not be considered professional advice and is not a substitute for a financial planner or investment banker. Please seek professional guidance and do your own research before investing. Phew, I should charge by the word, not by the hour.